Hi, I'm Luke Gilfillan. Welcome to the Lounge with Luke Gilfillan. Alright, so we got a ton of news to go over today, contrast to usual. First thing is the Chicago mayoral elections and that whole thing. Someone wants to make a $100 million Iron Man suit for themselves. And the OPRF protests will just review that, and I'll play a short clip that came out. First off, Chicago mayoral elections. Chicago will elect its first African-American female mayor after a strange 14-candidate race came to an end Tuesday in the city's primary. Both candidates, Cook County Board President Tony Prinkwinkle and former Police Oversight Board Chairman Lori Lightfoot, are considered outside candidates with few attachments to Chicago's fabled Democratic machine, but with deep ties to the city's far-left progressive elements. The 14-way race was in a dead heat until nearly the end, with polls predicting varied outcomes, none of which played out Tuesday night. Lightfoot, a relatively unknown and newcomer to Chicago elections, though not to Chicago politics, was the city's top vote-getter, commanding about 70% of the vote. Prinkwinkle, a more well-known commodity, often maligned for instituting the city's now-repealed sugary drinks tax, came in second with 16%, according to the Chicago Tribune's official election results. Most surprisingly, though, was the result for former Barack Obama's chief of staff, Bill Daley, whose last name is on nearly every building and public park in the city. Bill Daley is a relative of long-serving mayors both Richard J. and Richard M. Daley, and was expected to do well in the mayoral race. After last night's votes were counted, Daley didn't even pick up the traditional Democratic and Daley strongholds, leaving him in third, with only 15% of the vote. Those went to Jerry Joyce, who barely finished with 7%. Both Prinkwinkle and Lightfoot ran far to the left of current mayor Rahm Emanuel. Both had platforms that embraced an elected school board, something most mayors hesitate to do because the city's education system could fall into public union control, civilian oversight of the police department, and a tax scheme designed to correct wealth inequality within the city. There were no Republican contenders in the technically nonpartisan race. Only about 10% of the Chicago's population considers itself Republican, and some people say that those estimates are high. Among Tuesday night's victories, even though one in particular stood out, that of powerful 14th Ward Alderman Ed Brooke, who commanded more than 50% of the vote, despite being under active indictment by the FBI. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, in January, Burke was indicted on federal extortion charge, and federal agents have warned that more charges may be coming. And then we'll move on to the more exciting story. Nets Spencer Dinwiddie wants to build fully functional Iron Man suit. Brooklyn's net point guard Spencer Dinwiddie said his retirement goal is building a fully functional Iron Man suit, a project he estimates could cost $100 million. Dinwiddie laid out his plans during an appearance on Hoops Hype podcast with Alex Kennedy. The 25-year-old Los Angeles native has a long way to go before he can cover that sky-high price tag. His estimated career earnings through 2018 through 2019 NBA season will be $6.3 million per Spo track, while his upcoming 3-year, $34.4 million contract extension with the Nets will provide a boost. He'll still be a mere 40% of the way to his goal without factoring in other expenses. Dinwiddie, who also discussed his hope of getting out of the public eye whenever his basketball playing days are over, is still committed to one day flying around in his own Iron Man suit, though. What a guy. So that's all we have to go over today. A couple other news. The superintendent sent out an email regarding the protests and whatever. She's generally pretty supportive when it comes to the racial protests and whatever and all that. She sent out an email saying that people at the protest were too rowdy. They were banging on windows of. They marched to Julian and then to the police department. And on the way they stopped at Julian, which is the middle school closest to OPRF. It's an Oak Park middle school. They apparently some kids were banging on the windows for whatever reason, and she was like talking about that and all. Yeah, they had there's some. I'll just play a clip from when they were outside of Julian, and then that'll probably be the end of the video. Oh, it was only 5 minutes, but we did have a ton of news to go over today, and I would love to point that out because usually we don't have much news to go over today. Thanks for listening, and also, never mind actually. Go ahead.
Hands up, don't shoot! 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 Don't shoot!
Thanks so much for listening. The Lounge with Luke Gilfillan comes out every Saturday and Sunday. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you would be interested in getting notified every time a video comes out, hit the gray bell right next to the subscribe button. Credits, sources, and errors are in the description. If you find an error that I missed, please put it in the comments section. If you are interested in donating to my channel, because I bought recording equipment, which kind of costed a lot, my Patreon, which is a donation site, is in the description. If you have any feedback, put it in the comments section. Toodaloo.